Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today I'm exploring how to know you are a resilient person. And this has come off the back of a call that I was on last night with the lovely Stephanie Benedetto and Tom Maddox. They call it Monday's Magic, and it's just coaching and conversation around the understanding that I share. And yesterday we were exploring change, and we were invited to go into a breakout room to talk about a time that we had got through something that was difficult and how we felt we'd done that, what we felt had been at play to get us through that difficult situation. And I reflected on the burnout that I experienced in 2015, after which I didn't work for a year. And when I walked out of work that day, I had no idea I wasn't going to go back ever. I didn't work for a year, and then I still never went back. I never went back to my job. And as I was reflecting on kind of how I got through that, the only thing that came to mind to say was, well, I was alive. Like each day I woke up, I felt pretty awful when I woke up, but I was alive. And I had moments of joy, they were still there. They weren't as frequent as I might like. But as I reflected on that, I really got a sense of this essence of who we are. It is there all the time, this resilience that is part of who we are is running through us all the time. It's always been there. You have learnt to walk and talk and do all sorts of things that involved you getting through hard times. It's pretty hard to keep falling down over and over again and banging your knees and whatever else you bang when you're a baby and you fall down. But that little person never, ever doubts their ability to get up and carry on. They don't have a concept of not being pulled forward in life. And that made me reflect really on the stories that we have where we think we're not resilient, and how that comes about. How do we stop seeing our resilience? What gets in the way of us seeing, how amazing we are, how resilient we are? What is it that stops that stops us seeing it? Well, it's thought, isn't it? It's bound to be. It's always thought, really. Whenever anything doesn't look as wonderful as it could, it's to do with thought. And I think it's because there's perhaps some stories about resilience. People call it bounce back ability, don't they? Or, there might be some definitions out there that make it look like resilience is something that is quick. Like, I do definitely see that people attach a time scale to you getting over something or recovering from something, or accepting some kind of change in life. As soon as you put a time scale on it, you create some unpleasantness and some resistance. I remember hearing a story not so long since about a lady whose husband had died, and they had been married for 50 years or something, some amazing length of time like that. And a couple of weeks after the death, she was still feeling sad and upset. And so she went to the doctors. And the doctor gave her antidepressants. 2 weeks when you've been with somebody 50 years to not still be upset. And I think that's one of the other things, is that you are still resilient if you are crying. You are still resilient if you are angry about the situation. You are still resilient if you are resisting the change. It cannot take away your resilience. All those other things are thought created, but the resilience is the essence of who you are. But I remember once Sari Taylor saying, we have an unreasonable expectation about what it means to be human. And life has sped up now to the stage where it seems we haven't got time to just allow things to naturally happen in our lives. Because it is completely natural for us to feel feelings about things that are not as we might like them to be. Changes that are huge and perhaps difficult and involve the loss of something that was dear to us. As a human being, you're supposed to feel. But when I reflect on that year, when I functioned at a very low level in terms of how we view society now, I remember I used to look at the dishwasher and just think, it's too hard. It's too much to empty the dishwasher. I remember one day I thought I'm going to tackle some filing, household paperwork. And I literally got halfway through it and my brain just couldn't cope and I had to stop. And I'd just done a bit of filing and that was too much for me. And there was a long period when I didn't eat because I literally could not be bothered to walk into the kitchen. And even when food was put in front of me by my family, I still didn't eat. I still found it difficult just to lift the food up to my mouth. And back then I didn't see this because I didn't have this understanding, but I can see now that it was just, I was still alive. I was still there. I was still moving forward. I still had that rope round my middle, which is how, you can see resilience as a rope round your middle. I still had that pulling me forward, helping me move through life. It's never that we don't have the resilience. It's the stories. It's the stories that we tell about what it's supposed to look like. You're not, it's not that you're not resilient. It's just that you think you're not resilient. And perhaps, in this session, there's a space for reflection. What have you got through? There's no denying that there are experiences in the human realm that are difficult. It's, as Sydney Banks said, life is a contact sport. It's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be all fluffy all the time. And I think, if it was, we'd all be a bit bored, really. But maybe, take some time to reflect. I'm not a person who likes poking around in the past, but to just take some time to reflect on what you've got through. And so then if you're going through something difficult now, taking that time to reflect on what you have got through in the past can be really helpful. because I think it gives us a little bit of hope that right now, in this moment, we're doing okay. We've done it before with tricky situations, with difficulty, with change, and we're always doing it. You can't cut that rope. It's made of something, I don't know what's the most uncuttable substance, titanium or something. It's made of something tougher than your scissors. You can't cut yourself off from resilience. It's always there. It's always pulling you forward. It's always available to you. So I hope this, I think the answer to the question now, how to know you are a resilient person, is, well, because you just are. Because you're human and you're alive. And just like nature, you have this innate ability to recover from anything. And often we don't see it because our thinking is in the way. But that's just our old conditioning. It's got nothing to do with your essence. And your essence is resilience. So I hope you find that helpful. Take that time to reflect on the things you've got through. It's definitely worth that. Take care. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.